There are lots of benefits if you stop or pause and consider where you have been, where you currently are, and where you still have to travel. There's a lot of value if we take the time. So many people don't take the time to do that. Well, today we're going to discuss your pathways checkpoints, the benefits of those checkpoints, and more on episode 759 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I am good. You and I had a really fruitful discussion this morning before the program. Must have been because it took us 19 and a half minutes to get to the point that we start. Remember when I was so anal about we've got to start right at 7?
Have you moved off of that?
I have. So. I've let it go.
Huh.
I'm learning as I get older and wiser to let go of the things that, one, don't really matter to me in the end. Because no one has complained. Not one person has said to us, I go every morning at 7:00 and you're not there, and it totally messes up my day. The other thing is there's another situation in my life that comes up a couple of times, and I'm powerless to deal with it in any way. And it took me about 3 months to get to a place where I could let it go. And now it doesn't even register for me.
You know what? It's so funny when you say let it go. And one, just to start the show off on a interesting foot. You did say older and wiser.
I am older. I'd like to think I'm wiser.
Yeah. You're older, maybe physically. Maybe that's also just a judgment. Maybe you're...
I walked into the judgment trap.
Maybe just...
That's what the bell should be for. The judgment bell. That's what we're going to go with.
Yeah. Maybe it's just what's real for you has changed.
Yes.
Could you ever imagine that?
I couldn't, but I do more and more.
It's interesting. I was thinking about this on my drive to Frederick yesterday. I had to go out to Frederick to do a presentation, which was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Talking about boards and how to work with boards. And I think I may have
and how to cut them the right size, 2x4s and all. Yeah. Yes.
Nonprofit board of directors, leaders, whatever you want.
Okay.
Those boards. Yes. A little bit different. So I might have a new title for my book. I was throwing this around.
Are you going to share this with us now?
I am. I'm not, again, this is just a thought. But...
Folks, this is not something I was aware of. This is coming clean. Yeah, go.
Judgment, the confidence killer.
Ooh, I like it. I would read that book.
Yeah, then the subtitle would be something like, how to avoid judgment and find your pathway to success, or something like that.
That's gold there.
You like that?
I do.
There was something I was like, that was interesting. I was actually also, you'd be proud of me. And Brian,
I'm proud of you, Tom.
I know, but this is one that you would also be happy about. And one of our Renegade Success members, Brian, would also value this. I actually took out my talk to text or whatever it is on my phone.
Oh no.
And kind of started a little bit writing and sharing some thoughts that was then dictated onto my phone about the book.
For those of you who are new to this or not following, Tom has been talking about a book for at least 13 months. I think it might be closer to 24.
Probably.
And it's been a slow process. And one of the things, and I think there's a lesson here, Tom, honestly, which is I've written several books, and I don't say that in a pompous way, but you can't write a book until you're ready to write a book. It's not like writing a LinkedIn post. It's not like writing a tweet. It's not like anything else. To write a book, you have to really know where you're starting and where you're finishing. And I've worked with a number of authors who, they want to write books, and until they have that outline, they're like, okay, I see chapter 1 being this, chapter 2 this, chapter 5, chapter 7. Once they get there, I know they're serious about the book. But I can't tell you how many people say to me, oh, you've written books. I want to write a book. And I'm like, okay, I'd love to see an outline. And it disappears at that. So I give you credit for continuing to try to sort it out and figure out what it is you want to say and how you want to say it. And I think it's true of all of us in everything. I'm learning how to do finger picking guitar, and it's slow. It is, my fingers do not work the way they just don't have that dexterity yet. But each day they get better. And I think it's that thing with all of the stuff we do.
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking about that as you said, you're going to hate the fact that I've truly listened to words a lot. You said that writing a book is different than anything else.
Yeah.
And I actually would say, I think it's exactly like everything else. That when you have confidence and you have some strategies and a system in place, you can do whatever it is you want to do. And so
you.
What? Is that not fair?
I bow to your ability on so many levels.
So for everyone out there, Bob definitely has the confidence, and he had a strategy and some systems because he wrote his own book, The Renegade Way. And I wrote
one other book, and I co-authored a third book.
Yeah, and those,
Well, and here's
The Renegade Way is your most.
It also, you develop new systems. Once you've done it once, each book I've written has gotten easier because I've got better systems in place, and that gives me a confidence. Like I told someone yesterday, we were talking about a book for him, and he said, what book are you going to write? And I kind of mapped out one really quickly, and he said, how long would it take you to write it? I said, if I were serious about it, I could have it done probably by Memorial Day, maybe even Easter. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I know this. I'd have to do a week of research, have to figure out this. I said, the editing part's the hard part.
Sure.
And I think that's true of anything that we do. Every single person watching this or listening to this has something that they did at one point in their life that took a long time, and now it's quicker and easier. Heck, sure. I can unload the dishwasher. It used to take me, at where I'm living now, 5 minutes. I can do it in 2.5 now. And yes, I do time how long it takes me to.
Really?
Every time. Yep.
Fascinating.
Oh, I'm all about the efficiency. Even such that sometimes I'll put all the forks in the same little bin so that it's quicker. You just scoop them up, drop them in.
Do you time everything you do?
No.
Okay. And it's interesting. Here's an interesting question for you. I think it's interesting. In order to be more efficient unloading the dishwasher, are you now less efficient loading it?
No, I'm actually more efficient loading it.
Really?
And I also scrutinize some of the dishes I use at times.
All right.
But that's the system.
Sure.
Right? Just, we have systems for this broadcast. And when we first started,
people would question that.
Well, if you think about it today, we're completely off of how we normally do it.
It's different. There's no doubt.
It's different. And believe it or not, after this program, I'm going to say to you, Tom, this is the way we should do the program from now on. We should just have a discussion, figure it out, and come up with the topic later and just have a discussion. And you're going to say, well, then we don't have a topic for the month. We don't have a topic for a week. And we'll have that debate.
Okay.
But, and I think there are points where having the system is good. But if you came to my house for dinner and you said, hey, I'll put the dishes in the dishwasher, I'm like, no, don't put the plates that way. Turn them this way. I think, that would be overkill. And I think we're prone to that. Some of us, if you're someone who wants control and you have employees and you want to micromanage them and tell them what to do and make sure they do everything your way, rather than say, by the end of the next hour, I want you to have the dishes clean and put back in the shelf where they go. I don't care how you do it. If you could come to my house and do it in an hour, it's done. I don't care if you listen to music. I don't care if you throw them up in the air and play juggler with them. I don't care. All I want is the outcome. But for me, part of the fun of the process is I like to time myself because I really don't like putting the dishes away. So this is a way for me to make it a game.
Yeah, you gamified.
Exactly.
Who would have ever thought somebody would gamify putting away the dishes? Interesting.
And want to know one of the stupidest things I ever said? When I was living with my parents after college, we had chores. Part of what you did to live in my parents' house, you had to do chores. So every 3 weeks or 2 weeks, I had to put the dishes away. And the last week that I had before I got married, I remember saying to my mother or father, well, this will be the last time I ever have to put dishes away. Oh, so wrong. So wrong.
Well, it was what was real for you at the moment. It wasn't wrong, right? It was just
no, it was what I was deluding myself with for the moment.
Well, who knows? You could have married someone like the way you are now, who would be like, nope, I got my system and my strategy. I don't touch the dishwasher. That's mine. I'll do it. You could have, and you would have never had to touch the dishes again.
Or you could be with someone who likes to keep the dishes in the sink for a day or two.
Yeah, it's time for us to move on to our conversation. I think you're going to walk into trouble, as you sometimes are apt to do. All right, everyone. Good morning and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, or our just random discussion about whatever is going on in the moment.
But it relates to business, right? It relates to leadership and business.
You'd be hard pressed to find something that you do that isn't relatable in both ways.
I got one, but we'll keep going.
Let's have that discussion afterwards. I can't wait to have that. Because I think I can find something. Anyhow, so each morning we have a conversation.
This might be my favorite program ever.
Around the topic of the week. And this month, we've been talking about your pathway and all the various things around your pathway. So if you're kind of struggling with your pathway, you might want to go back and listen to our past episodes because they talk about your destination. Talks a little bit about, we're talking about your checkpoints this week. So there's some really, I think, some helpful tips and tricks. And if you're really struggling with it, reach out to Bob or I, because we have a program that helps you figure out how to take that and create that pathway and then take those steps to reach the destination that you desire, whatever it is you think you want it to be, like we were talking about earlier. And so,
or even if you don't know exactly what you want it to be.
Correct. No doubt. All right. And as we go through that conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments because we know it'll add value to our show. And then at the end of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, that thing that we hope will help you figure out maybe how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And we also welcome your one thing, your antidote, because we know that it's going to be likely different, and it will be just that thing that will help someone else figure out how to take their next step. I was leading a discussion the other day at the convention that I was at this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a convention and I had to do a presentation, and I had a feeling the group was going to be quiet. And we were trying to say, hey, look, we're with a bunch of people who have a lot of knowledge, experience, and perspective. Please feel free to share. And I was worried that they weren't going to share much. And so I said, here's one of the things. If you're sitting there thinking about it, you have something of value to add, share it. Because I would imagine that you might be thinking, well, everyone knows this, and this sounds silly. And I said, you know what you're going to share might be just the exact thing that someone across the room is saying, I can't figure this out. I need to do one thing differently, and I can't figure it out. And you might be the person that shares that value. So share it. And interestingly enough, people spoke a lot, which was great.
Awesome.
Anyhow, before we dive into that conversation, is there something you want to say about it?
No, I'm good.
We share our celebrations of the morning. Bob, what are you celebrating this morning?
This is going to sound shameless, and I don't mean it that way, but I posted a prompt yesterday in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group about the fact that it was National Compliment Day. And I think most of us think about giving someone else a compliment. It struck me that I don't often give myself compliments. So the prompt I gave people was, give yourself, what compliment would you give yourself? And we got some really, really, really insightful responses from people. And if you haven't joined our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, you need to join, because you can go in there, see the great responses. It really gave me insight into all those people. And I think it's also something to really think about. How would you compliment yourself? What was the one you gave, Tom?
I said that I ask effective questions.
Exactly. Which I immediately couldn't agree more. So, and not that it matters, but I think it's great to take that time. And I don't know if you felt it, but when I put mine in, I had to think about it for a second. And I was like, yeah, this is me. I like this about me. And I would have never thought about that about me had it not been for that exercise. Well, and also you did a really great live it was a live yesterday about checkpoints on your journey, going a little deeper than what we do in this program that I really liked. It was thoughtful. So folks, I'm telling you, it's all right there in that Ring of Renegades Facebook group. You got to go there.
Nice shameless plug for your celebration. I like it. And it was a good celebration. Thank you. It was a celebration.
Wouldn't you agree, though?
Absolutely. No,
there's so much cool stuff there that I think, we do this program, and that Ring of Renegades Facebook group is free. Beautiful value. All you have to do is answer a simple question. What makes you a renegade? I think that's the question, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more about, do you see yourself as...
Okay, there you go. But not like a hard question, like, this isn't the SATs or the LSATs or some other major medical exam. This is pretty straightforward.
Even though those are the questions Bob wanted us to ask. Really hard, challenging, making people think questions. Nah, I'm just kidding.
So what's your celebration?
I've been so wrapped up in, you know what? I'm going to celebrate that I took the time, I'm not going to judge it. I took the time yesterday on my drive to think a little bit more about my book, and that something struck me, and I took the time to write it down, which I think is a next step. And I think the more I think about it, the more I think I'm closer along the pathway to that book than I may have initially thought, which might give me more confidence and help me set up some systems and strategies to complete it.
The interesting thing to me, Tom, is that that's a checkpoint for you that you didn't even recognize. I think I mentioned that idea to you, 3-4 weeks ago, and said, hey, you're going to do some driving. You might want to try this. And I might do it. And then I think you went to New York.
Yes.
And you said you didn't do it. And it wasn't a checkpoint that we defined or that you defined. But here it is today, and you're using it as a checkpoint.
It was a step that I could take. And it was very awkward. I don't know. As I was doing it, it seemed very random, I guess, because I wasn't really sure where I was, is this like the intro? Is this and maybe I was worried too much about where the language would land rather than just getting the language out. So that's an interesting takeaway from it, that if I looked at what went well, what didn't go as planned, and what I might do differently.
If you saw the Renegade Way first draft I wrote, you would be amazed. It's probably 3 times as long. And if you looked at my editing, you would see that I would literally cut out entire sections, rewrite sections. I don't like this wording. Or you'd see a page where there would be 3 of the same descriptions with tweaks in the wording. And if you look at Hemingway's writing, if you go to some of these places or look in some books, they'll show you like first drafts. It's no one just spits out the perfect book on the first draft. I'm sorry, that's just a fiction.
So are you comparing yourself to Hemingway?
I am. Yes.
You're all right.
And if we're going to go all out, Shakespeare. Let's just go right to the top of left.
Okay.
Or,
awesome.
Or who's?
Are you okay? Did you freeze? I think Bob froze. He might have frozen mid-thought. Well, I'm going to go on here because I think Bob froze. Wait, are you there or are you pondering?
So there's a woman that writes a whole. There's going to be a woman who listens to this and goes, "You mean Colleen something?" I can't remember. It's like Colleen Culver or Colleen Hoover. She writes all these books. They're really the rage. They're I'm trying to think of the genre.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
You are sort of in and out a little bit, and you said you couldn't think of the person's name, and then you sort of looked like you were pondering it.
Okay.
And then I was like, I think he froze. And I think you froze. So we didn't get a whole lot of it. That's all right.
So I was talking about, if you're going to compare me a Hemingway or Shakespeare, or there's this woman that's been writing a whole bunch of books lately, that Colleen something, I can't remember her last name. It's like Hoover or Culver or something, but she's very popular. She's written like 12 books, and I know someone who is passing them around with other women and like devouring these books, like 3 nights and, oh, I got another book. And then 3 nights later, oh, I finished my book. Like, whoa, that's crazy. So
cool.
I don't know how I got to that, but what the heck? Hey, it's 22 minutes in, Tom. We should probably talk about the topic. Checkpoints, the benefits. So
sure.
How about if I start that?
Have at it.
Gladly, right? So I think we've covered a lot of content today, so I don't think we've wasted time. It just feels like we haven't really kept to the format, but that's okay. I can live with that. So that's right. No, bad judgment on me. So as we look at the benefits of checkpoints, I think the benefits are, one, it gives us an opportunity to look at a situation and say, hey, I've made this much progress. Whether it's success, failure, good, bad, or indifferent, taking the steps. You and I were doing some things with some marketing, and the coach that we're working with was very, I thought, very good at saying to us, hey, I really appreciate the fact that you did it to completion. You went through these steps, you did it, you executed it. That was her first comment. It wasn't good, bad, or indifferent. It was you did the things that you said you were going to do on the time frame you said you were going to do them. And I think that's one of the values of a checkpoint. I think another benefit of a checkpoint is it gives us a chance to mark, to say, hey, I really am serious about achieving this thing. You're much more serious about this book today than I've ever seen you. You volunteered a title. And you don't think that Brian's not going to be on you at 1 o'clock today? Tell me more.
I know that's coming. I can't wait now. I'm actually, where I typically am nervous about that question, I'm actually excited about it.
And there's the shift. Mm-hmm. And for you to take the time and say, hey, I was here with this book, and now I'm here with this book. That we've got to mark that progress, because I think it's really easy to sit there and say, I'm not making any progress. I'm not doing the things I need to do. Everyone's having success except me. And I think the social media world that we are actually on right now is all about sharing your successes. If you get a new car, you talk about the new car. No one talks about the fact that that $425 a month payment for the car is going to stretch you a whole lot. That's not the picture we portray. And I think this checkpoints help us be honest with ourselves. And they also help us find when we need to make a turn. And I think for me, knowing when to make the turn might be the single biggest growth for me in the last 5-10 years. I think wisdom isn't really about knowing more stuff and being smarter. I think it's really about knowing when to pivot more quickly and being comfortable with, you know what, I'm going to move in a different direction and see if this goes the way I want.
Isn't that knowing more stuff? I'm curious about that comment.
Elaborate on that. I
So
follow you sort of, but I think you may be onto something.
Well, you talked about that it isn't about learning more stuff. It's about better understanding what you know, or I don't remember. I'd have to play it back to really think about it. I might have to re-listen to it. And I actually think that it is about learning more stuff. And it's either, again, this goes back to my equation, is that you're adding to your knowledge, experience, and perspective. And while that might not be seen as learning new content or reading another book or whatever, you've taken the time to measure, evaluate what you've done, and now have a different understanding around it, which means that you've changed a little bit of your perspective, or you've had a different experience, which I think is actually learning more things.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. I like that. Yeah, that's a good distinction. I didn't really buy into it until you walked through it just then. But yeah, I like that. And it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that what you've done is by evaluating where you are, either more often or differently, that you're starting to come to different understandings. What's real for you has changed, which has allowed you to consider pivoting more frequently, or at what might seem like an appropriate time, based on, again, what you know, what you've experienced, and now what your perspective is on all the other times that you've considered what have you done. And maybe if you haven't considered it, it hasn't allowed you to understand that maybe there's a time in which a pivot is necessary. That it's just been like, I said I was going to do this, and I'll go through everything.
That was Sam Hunt. That was Sam Hunt's food. He has an automatic dispenser, and he was sitting up next to me staring at the program, and the food bell went off and the food dispensed, and doesn't matter what's going on then.
So his love for listening to us talk is not as valuable to him as his food.
Not even a million. You can be petting. He can be asleep on your lap. You're petting him. He's purring. He's happy as can be. That thing goes off, and he is off like a dart. like he's the only cat in the house. I don't need his food, but he acts like someone's going to steal it if he doesn't get there quickly. So I apologize. He literally ran across the keyboard.
That's funny. Well, it looked like your whole world was shaking. Like maybe there's an earthquake.
It was. The whole table was up.
In Northeast Maryland. I was like, that's interesting.
It's a little earthquake in my house a couple times a day.
All right. So maybe now that we've had that pause in our conversation, do you want to share your one thing? Do you have one?
I do. I think the ultimate benefit of the checkpoints is it gives us a chance to take stock. And I think based on what you said, it's an opportunity for us to apply the knowledge, experience, and perspective that we've developed since the last time we took stock, the last time we looked at a checkpoint, and to apply it to where you are now. And if you think about that, if I'm walking down the street and I'm trying to get to, I'm in Baltimore, I'm trying to get to Washington, D.C., I'm walking down the street. Not every street goes directly to Washington, D.C. You're going to go a little left, a little right.
I'm not sure any of them do.
Exactly. So as you get closer to D.C., it's a spoken hub system and it's chaotic. You would have to constantly evaluate where you are. You would have to have checkpoints almost every block to figure out how to get there, or else you're going to end up in Arlington, Virginia. And I know this because I've been to Arlington a number of times when I really would like to have gone to Georgetown or some other part of Washington, D.C. And anyone in this area knows exactly what I'm talking about. There should be a sign when you get to Arlington. We know you didn't want to get here, but now that you're here, please enjoy.
Well, have you noticed there's a bridge Um, one of the times I did it, there's a bridge. When you come off of that bridge, there's
Yep.
like a loop around that will send you right back going the other way.
But that's where the cemetery is. That's where the Arlington National Cemetery is, right?
No, this is
Got
another
that?
one. So maybe it's after every bridge. It's fascinating to me on this one bridge.
Yeah.
They clearly created a road that when you get off, you loop back around and you make a left-hand turn at a light and you head back over the bridge. So they clearly were like, something seems to be happening here that wasn't
Well,
supposed to
think
happen.
about it. The beauty of that is the planners actually put a checkpoint there.
Yeah.
And said, we know that people are going to need a checkpoint here. And I think we, as business people, as leaders, probably need to do more of that and say, okay, where do I need a checkpoint? Do I need a checkpoint at 11:45 every day when I go, this is really getting difficult. I'm going to play on social media for the next hour. Do I need a checkpoint when I just don't want to get up in the morning and I know I have things I need to do? And do I need to have that checkpoint at 6:45 in the morning and go, you know what, Bob, you got to get up into this program because you promised Tom you'd be there. And I think that's so important to developing your confidence and also making sure that the systems you put in place are working the way you want them to work. Because how many times, the number of times I get sold on a system by someone, the LinkedIn, this is a system for you. This is how you can do it. Oh, Google ads, Facebook ads, this, do video, do audio, do podcasts, if I followed all those, I would never get anything done. So having checkpoints say, okay, what am I trying to do here? And aligning what I'm doing going forward with those checkpoints. Okay, I'm at this checkpoint. This is where I am right now. This is working. This may not be going as I expect. What can I do differently? That's really important, I think.
Sure. And I think it gets a little bit to my one thing, is that I think so often we think we've traveled this pathway before.
Mm-hmm.
And even we may have traveled the exact route. It just, as I was thinking about it while you were talking, it was reminding me of a trip. For a long time, I was commuting back and forth from Baltimore to Binghamton, New York. And so I was on the same road every other week at a minimum. And I had my regular stops that I would be like, okay, this is typically where I'm going to stop. And yet each time I traveled it, I had different things on my mind. It was different times a day. It was, I was at different stages of being awake or tired. And I think that, what I love about checkpoints is they help us learn.
Mm-hmm.
They learn about the situation that we're currently in. And when we stop to evaluate, we have an opportunity to understand differently where we're at. Because every time that I would take that trip, yes, there were some regular checkpoints. And then there was like, hey, you know what? I'm more tired, more hungry. Now I have to go to the bathroom earlier. Where am I going to? And so now here's a new checkpoint that allowed me to stop, do whatever I needed to do. And then also consider, all right, based on where I am right now, how I'm feeling, what time of day it is, my next checkpoint might be different than what I thought. And so I may have to recalculate when my checkpoints are. You talked about it yesterday, is that you initially wanted to do a checkpoint once a month to see where you are. And then you got thinking like, this is really helpful. Maybe I'll start doing it every 2 weeks. And you may start doing it every 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, you be like, this is a little bit too often. So I'm learning constantly about, based on the pathway that I'm on, I can set up checkpoints, and those checkpoints allow me to better understand where I have been, where I am, and where I need to go, and consider if I need to modify the checkpoints. If you're leading a person who might be struggling with their goals, and you say, okay, well, they really struggled last year, and we kind of only met to talk about our goals once. Maybe to really help this person out, we need to have 3 or 4 conversations around it. And if they're still struggling after that, it might be, okay, we need to have another checkpoint on a regular basis. Like we need to check in once a week to see how things are going and where they might need help. In the business world, we call that a performance program. But I think it's an opportunity to really just have conversations about where we are, to check in, to see how things are going, and to see how we can help ourselves or help someone else find the success that they desire. Whether that success is maybe with our organization or not, we have an opportunity to better understand that. And if we're not having some sort of regular check-in, how can we be sure about the progress we're making or others are making?
Wow. There's a lot going on here today.
There is a lot going on. It's a wacky Wednesday morning.
It'll be Wednesday.
I can't even remember the days. It's a wacky Wednesday morning and a wacky week. Although I just made a judgment around it. So get rid of that adjective.
Judgment bell.
Judgment bell. I like that, actually.
I thought you would. Yeah.
I like that. Especially if my book is going to be talking about judgment.
That's it.
The confidence killer.
You've come back to the book. Look at this.
Yeah, there's a little bit of twinkle in my eye, I think. All right, everyone.
Tom Keegan has joined us this morning with wedding week.
It is a wedding week. Yes, Keegan is getting married this Saturday. I can't believe that. 1, I have a child that is getting married. 2, that it's our youngest child. 3, that it's a couple days away. Yeah, it's
wait,
a week.
But let's go to the biggest thing. That your child is actually paying attention to this program.
He shared that with me last night.
That is the one beyond all the others.
He actually said, Dad, I've actually started to listen to your show a little bit. And I'm like,
I want to know who he likes better, you or me, because we know my sister likes you better than me. She just doesn't say it.
Hey, Keegan, if you're still listening, put a comment in. And I know Bob's ego.
I have a fragile ego.
If you want to write that Bob is your favorite on this, whether that's actually the case or not, I'm comfortable with that. You can tell the world that yes, Bob is your favorite. He just broke your ego. Sorry about that.
Hey, Keegan, all kidding aside, congratulations. Enjoy your wedding day. I will give you the advice I give everyone about wedding days. Take a moment and just pause and look at the beauty of the day, because it goes by so quickly and you will forget so much about it over the years. Really take it in, because it's one of the few times when everyone's excited, happy, and they're celebrating you and your progress in life.
Absolutely. Great advice.
Thank you.
Now he's going to like you more than he likes me.
Well, you see, I can do it because I don't have children, so I can give that advice and it's not paternal.
Fair.
Of course,
All right,
it also
everyone.
comes from a guy recently divorced, so there's that too.
I don't know what to do with that. So I'm just going to say, hey, if you have your one thing that you'd like to share, please feel free to do, because it might add value to someone else. Might be exactly what they're looking for, whether it's around checkpoints and the benefits, or as you've discovered, we talked about a lot of different things today. It could be about something else, because we know that it might be the one thing that someone is looking for to help them figure out how to take the next step along their own unique pathway to success. And so you can share that here, or we know if you're listening to the podcast, Bob hasn't yet figured out how to comment on the podcast, which is okay. That's a hard one. And you can join us in the Ring of Renegades, as Bob said. Join us in our Facebook group where you can share those thoughts and ideas, and others will be grateful that you have done that, and they might share something that would be the thing that you're looking for. So we look forward to seeing you inside the Facebook group. If not, we will see you tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. It is so worth it.
It is worth it.
It is.
I think about that every day. I think the more that I can embrace it, the more benefit it is, and the more things that are real for me are impacted, and I can learn.
Me too. Couldn't have said better.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.